Audio Jungle.
Good evening. Thank you for joining me today on this chilly weather. My name is Yeji Kwok, and today I'm here to talk to you about voluntourism. Now the question is, what is voluntourism? Voluntourism is when travelers do volunteer work to help the environment and communities at places they are visiting. With us today, we have the UN representative, Sari, and she's going to interview students at Queen's University on whether they know what voluntourism is and if they're for it or against it.
Thank you, Yeji. I'm here live on Queen's University campus. My name's Sari, and I am interviewing students if they know what voluntourism is. Do you know what voluntourism is?
No.
No? What's voluntourism?
When people go and volunteer places and help out the community they're volunteering in while they volunteer.
Do you know what voluntourism is?
No.
If you had to guess, put a definition to the word, what would you say voluntourism is?
Volunteering while touring the country.
When you go to like a country and volunteer there, but you're also a tourist.
Something to do with volunteers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where?
With tourism?
Yeah, good job. Do you know what voluntourism is?
No.
No?
No.
No. Yeah.
What's voluntourism?
It's when tourists go to countries to help.
Volunteer.
Like me to we. Volunteer. Oh, I've done that. She's done that. Are you a good person or a bad person? I'm a good person, but not because of that.
Either of you know what voluntourism is?
Going to places to volunteer, but sort of going on a trip.
Yeah, exactly. And do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
Sounds like a great thing.
There's better ways to put money in the economy than pretending to build a school and have a feel-good project.
Feel-good project.
I think there's pros and cons.
Okay, what's an example of a pro?
Pro is that like at least there's people doing something, bring some awareness. Some cons is it can be kind of greedy, like you're going into a country and you're getting to vacation and then you get to leave and go back to like your comfy home while they're stuck in poverty.
Like, do you think it's a good program?
If I knew more about it, I feel like it would be a good program.
Yeah? Are you lacking the knowledge about voluntourism?
Yes.
Do you think voluntourism is good or bad?
I don't know.
I mean, I feel like it's probably good, but there are also things that the people there can probably do.
Yeah? Okay, thanks for your help. Back to you, Yeji.
Thank you, Sari. It looks like a lot of people have really different views on this subject. There is lots of variety without any straight yes or no answers. But it seems like not a lot of students are educated well enough about the subject. To go more in depth, we have Megan Harrison and Kate McKenzie from Me to We with their lovely experiences of doing volunteerism. They are going to have a debate on whether they think volunteerism is good or bad. And through this debate, I hope you can come to a conclusion of whether you are for it or against volunteerism.
Thank you, Yeshi, for having us. I personally believe that voluntourism is detrimental to the global south, which is not to deny that it has its benefits. I just believe that the costs outweigh the benefits. I believe it's a classic example of neoliberalism, pure and simple.
I, on the other hand, believe that voluntourism is a positive aspect in the development of the global south. It allows for change to occur. And while not denying that there are negatives to the concept, I'm saying that the benefits of these programs make such negatives become almost non-existent. When citizens of the global north, or the developed nations, partake in voluntourism, it creates a positive experience for both the volunteer themselves as well as for the host country. The volunteer and the people being helped in the nation become rather well acquainted with one another. This relationship helps to create a mutually beneficial relationship between the host nation and the volunteer. When a volunteer comes into a nation and gives aid, it is not only the host country that is benefiting. The volunteer themselves also has the opportunity to become more exposed to a new culture and a way of life that has often left a large impact on the way that they live their own lives. For example, we can see a young volunteer who's spending her time in India, and she spends every day at a girls' home teaching English to young girls and women, and she gives them a sense of what they can do with their lives. This volunteer is reminding these young girls and women that they can do something, and they're not bound to just staying home and raising children while their husbands go out to work. This can have a life-changing impact on these girls' lives, and it shows them their true capabilities. There's a strong relationship formed between the volunteer and these girls, And volunteerism helps to create people-to-people experiences that really do last a lifetime.
Okay, so let's take that example, or a very common example, which is building a school. A bunch of high school students, typically, with no knowledge of construction whatsoever, build a school, which in turn takes jobs away from the people who would build this school, who are actually in the community and would give back to their economy. So they take a bunch of pictures with these poor kids, poor sad children, and promoting development pornography on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and when they leave, many times there has not been enough funding to keep these teachers around, so this school becomes an empty building. And this is one of the best case scenarios. The orphanage trips are simply cruel. Some kids develop strong attachments to these people who volunteer. And after a month or 2 months or 3 months when they've been stripped away, these orphans can develop attachment disorders later on in life. With these students or religious groups, they leave feeling a sense of righteousness and altruism, as their white man's burden has seemed to be lifted from their shoulders.
While I do see where you're coming from that point of view, I just want to make the point that voluntourism is also seen to bring awareness to certain global issues that are apparent in today's society. Both students who partake in these programs that you've mentioned, and also adults who participate in voluntourism, are exposed to issues that they otherwise may not have known were relevant in the world or not have been exposed to. They then bring these experiences that they've had back to their home communities, where they raise further awareness for the issues that they faced. And they bring that to their towns, where people in their towns can feed the fire and have the same passions as they had. So not only does volunteerism raise awareness, but it also forms a sense of global responsibility for these more developed countries to help those in need in other countries.
Okay, so let's talk about the communities. So when their pictures are posted everywhere, the community's voices are never really published. They remain silent while their saviors talk about them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, not to mention themselves as heroic and caring, which is, again, a clear example of Orientalism.
I hear you again, but I just want to make the final fact and touch on the fact that doing something is always better than doing nothing at all. And at the end of the day, these volunteers are doing a good thing. They're helping nations in need, and they're bringing awareness to important issues. And I think it's time that we all take a step back and realize that helping others always outweighs not helping. And lending a helping hand and showing acts of kindness is purely positive. And volunteerism is an excellent example of this.
So yes, I don't deny that it raises awareness. Let's talk about the long run. What happens when, after years of aid from these developed nations, these communities in the global south believe sometimes, not all the time, that they cannot provide for themselves without this outside help. They rely on it now. And of course, volunteerism has some benefits, but for the money that it costs to go to that village or community or country and build a school or a well or an orphanage, wouldn't it be more helpful to send that money to a program that's already within the community, that works with the community members and can supply villagers with self-sustaining knowledge like growing crops or sterilizing equipment or even sterilizing water? From this debate, I haven't exactly changed my mind on voluntourism. I still believe it is purely neoliberalism and a form of Orientalism, classic example of white man's burden, and my opinion has not changed.
I can also not say that my opinion has changed from this. I think I will always strongly stick to my beliefs that volunteerism is purely positive. And with that, I'd like to thank Yeji for having us today, and back to you.
Thank you, Megan and Kate, for this wonderful debate. This concludes our 9 o'clock news, and I leave you today with whether you think volunteerism is good or bad. What is your opinion on this subject? Would you ever go and experience it? If so, why? Thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you all next week. Have a good night.